The Hisense U8Q has a premium price tag and a very high level of build quality. But is it a premium performer when it comes to sound and vision? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel for AVForums. I'm Phil Hinton, and if you're new to the channel, let's just say I've been staring at screens, measuring them, calibrating them for longer than I'd like to think about. Today we're diving deep into Hisense's latest flagship mini LED TV for the UK, the U8Q. If you want to go even further than this video, then the written review can be found at AVForums, where I dive deep into all the measurements, testing and so on. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed to the channel recently. It really is appreciated, as it helps us build the channel and provide you with more quality content. If you like what we do here, then please also remember to click the like button and consider subscribing. We're planning lots more TV and AV content, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out. Now, Hisense has been making some serious strides into the higher end of the TV market. This 65-inch model has an MSRP price of £2,199 at the time of this review in August 2025. The U8Q is the top tier flagship for the UK. We're talking a 4K 165Hz VA type panel with quantum dots and a mini LED Pro backlight that has 2048 individual dimming zones for this 65-inch screen size. All of this is orchestrated by their HiView AI Engine Pro processor. And yes, it comes in sizes from 55-inch all the way up to a frankly massive 100 inches. And design-wise, the U8Q is certainly pretty substantial. Hisense hasn't skimped on the materials here. It all feels very premium. It's also built to house that mini LED tech and a 4.1.2 audio system. And speaking of audio, yes, it supports Dolby Atmos and IMAX DTS, so lots of you will be happy with DTS support there. Connectivity, well, we've got 3 full bandwidth 48 gigabit per second HDMI 2.1 ports, and that's one more than we had last year. And it's a win for gamers. It supports 4K 165Hz for PC and 4K 120Hz for console gaming, and that also includes Dolby Vision at 120Hz. We also have FreeSync Premium, VRR, ALLM, EARC, and all the acronyms that you need for a smooth gaming experience. Oh, and there's also a USB-C port that doubles as DisplayPort 1.4, and it's on the side of the TV. Of course it is. And the remote control, well, it's the same as last year. It's a nice design. It sits neatly in the hand, but it is chunky, and it also features that solar panel, because who needs batteries when you have, light? Because you won't really be watching the U8Q in the pitch dark. For TV smarts, we have the Vida U9 Smart TV on the UK model, which was very responsive, and it also has a good selection of video on demand apps and all of the UK terrestrial catch-up services. Plus, there's also the Freely tuner for IPTV in the UK, and this wasn't quite as responsive, but there is a good selection of HD channels available. It just takes a little while to navigate. Now then, let's get down to the numbers, and if this bores you, then we've got some timestamps below. You can skip to performance if you're not interested in measurements and graphs and so on. As always, our testing rig includes portrait displays, Calman colour calibration software, a Meridio 7 generator, a Klein K10A meter, which is profiled to a Jetty Spectraval 1511 high-res spectroradiometer. I've been doing all of this for over 20 years, and I'm trained and certified by the ISF, THX and PVA, so you can trust these numbers. Out of the box in filmmaker mode, the U8Q offers some decent accuracy. Grayscale is a little bit red heavy, and delta E errors are just over the visible threshold of 3. However, there's no obvious errors when you're watching actual TV and film content, and the Rec 709 results are very good indeed for the colour gamut. With the Calman AutoCal approach used for the U8Q, it responds very well to calibration. Grayscale is spot on and delta E errors are well below the visible threshold, with gamma also tracking well. The Rec 709 colour saturation also wasn't bad out of the box to start with, and it's just the same after calibration. Moving to HDR, and the U8Q measured a whopping 2,698 nits on the industry standard 10% window. That's some pretty serious brightness. However, there is a caveat. Hisense employs blooming suppression for the smaller window sizes. So while it does a great job of removing the blooming around specular highlights, it also somewhat limits the dynamic range and contrast when compared to, say, an OLED TV. PQ EOTF tracking is generally good, and it has a nice roll-off towards the peak capabilities of the set. But, and this is a common Hisense trait, it still clips highlight detail with HDR10 content over 1000 nits, or content that doesn't have any metadata. Wide colour gamut to DCI-P3 is decent, but again, a slight red push is present out of the box, and the U8Q can't quite cover the entire gamut. We measured BT 2020 at 74% XY and 77% UV, with P3 coming in at 96% XY and 97% UV. For more of the test and measurements, including full colour, volume and spectral distribution charts, check out my full review at AVForums. Now let's put the graphs away and look at performance in the real world. We tested the 65-inch model, which was provided by Hisense UK, and generally the picture quality should be consistent across all the different screen sizes. Screen uniformity, however, is a classic LCD bugbear. On a 5% grey slide, we saw brighter panel edges and a darker centre, and flip that to brighter slides and it reverses. This leads to what we affectionately call dirty screen effect, and no, you don't need a VPN to see that. But it's particularly noticeable in content with uniform backgrounds and camera movement, so think Blade Runner 2049's misty scenes, or indeed the beautiful game of football. It's an inherent limitation of the technology. Motion performance for 24 frames per second content is excellent. There's no judder, no trailing artifacts with motion interpolation switched off. However, the moment that you engage motion smoothing, the dreaded soap opera effect rears its ugly head, bringing with it edge breakup and smearing. For 50Hz broadcast, microstutter is also present, so my advice, as always, is turn it off. Your eyes and the film directors will thank you for it. Upscaling HD content is also very good. It doesn't introduce any unwanted edge enhancement. Standard definition, though, is still fuzzy and soft. Some things just never change, and some channels are just not savable. Where the U8Q truly excels is in a bright living room. Its immense brightness allows it to cut through ambient light like a hot knife through butter. Colours are accurate, skin tones look natural, and blacks appear to be deep. In these conditions, the LCD limitations are largely masked. However, in a dim or dark room, the inherent issues become much more apparent. Black levels appear raised and grey, especially in letterbox bars. This really isn't a TV for the discerning cinephile who wants to watch in a Batcave. It's for the living room light warrior. With sound quality, the TV has a 4.1.2 system with a dedicated subwoofer and upward firing speakers. It's perfectly adequate for most content at normal listening volumes. However, for movies, it really does lack bass, and it sounds a little bit compressed and almost like there's a limiter being used when the volume gets raised that little bit too high. So if you're serious about audio, then you need to really invest in a soundbar or a dedicated system. We put the U8Q head-to-head with its closest mini-LED rival, the TCL C8K. Be aware that the video footage here is for illustration only, as the camera can't be directly in front of each TV, and with them being LCD TVs, the far edges in these clips appear darker than they would be in person, and this impacts on the image quality that you're seeing in the video here. Both are comparable in build quality, although the TCL is noticeably lighter. Both support all of the HDR formats, And the main differences? Well, the TCL is brighter out of the box, but it's not as accurate. The Hisense has a little bit more natural balanced image, while the TCL can feel overly processed and a little bit too warm. Otherwise, local dimming, tone mapping and black levels are remarkably similar between both TVs. The TCL uses Google TV, which is fine, but it does lack the integrated Freely tuner that the Hisense has. So moving to the conclusion, what are my final thoughts? Well, the Hisense U8Q is a TV that absolutely shines for specific use cases. For gamers with its three 48GB per second HDMI 2.1 ports, 4K 165Hz support and impressive input lag, it's a great choice. A dedicated game bar provides instant feedback on settings, and the input lag is low at 30 milliseconds for 4K 60 and 5 milliseconds at 120Hz. If you're watching in a bright living room, the U8Q's sheer brightness and excellent anti-reflective coating make it a real top contender. HDR content, particularly Dolby Vision, does look vibrant and punchy. Just be mindful of the HDR10 clipping and blooming suppression impact on the overall contrast in darker scenes. If you're a dedicated darkroom viewer, the raised black levels and local dimming artifacts might be a deal breaker for you. An OLED or a higher tier mini LED TV from a competitor might be a better fit for you. And finally, at its launch MSRP, it's expensive. While the performance is very good, it's not quite at the level of absolute best out there. What I would do is wait for those inevitable sale offers and price cuts. So, there you have it. The Hisense U8Q, a TV that offers a lot of performance for the money, especially when it's on sale, and particularly excels in specific areas like gaming and bright room viewing. It's not perfect, but it's another step forward for Hisense in the high-end mini LED market. Ultimately, the U8Q is a recommended TV for the mass market. It's a TV you can live with and enjoy, provided you understand the strengths and weaknesses. So, what do you think of the Hisense U8Q? Are you considering one? Let me know in the comments below. You can also get more details in my written review, which is over at AVForums. If you like what we do and you find it useful, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to AVForums for more in-depth reviews, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Until then, I'm Phil Hinton, and I'll see you in the next one.